Hello, friend. Welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter. That's Connor. And we are going to talk about Mr. Robot, Season 3, Episode 8. It's called EPS 3.7 underscore don't delete me.ko. First thing you're probably wondering if you come to see these videos or listen to this podcast every week is you're like, hey, this is later than usual. It is later than usual. I did put a tweet on Thursday saying it would be the weekend. Basically, we actually knew Connor was missing Friday and most of Saturday. He was on a trip. That was always planned. But some personal stuff came up on Wednesday, Thursday, which meant we couldn't do anything on Thursday, which meant everything Thursday planned is get pushed or deleted. Basically, just to tie it in with the name of the episode. That being the news. The news is just rolled into next week, so that's not a big deal. But we like to try and get Mr. Robot up as quickly as we possibly can, and this week we didn't, it'll be, extremely late Saturday. Depending on your time zone, it'll be Sunday in many places by the time this actually goes live. So apologies for that. Not much we could do about it, but we're here now. And of course, we actually would have been a few hours earlier, but Connor's internet decided to go out with the first chance he got to actually do this.
Oh, I know. It's been a hell of a week. The universe is not on my side.
And then, oh my god, because we were meant to be doing the Shield premiere right now, and then the new Netflix show this weekend we need to start tomorrow, and the whole thing, basically tomorrow night's like epic catch up night.
Yeah, we should have been doing the Shield premiere about 4 hours ago.
So we've just basically accepted. I mean, it's a good thing our DC shows were all done early this week because it means Sunday night's free, and Sunday night.
Imagine if I still had to watch those.
Sunday night is just complete catch up night and getting all these new things started and stuff that we've missed. Because I think in the last Godless review we promised the next one on Sunday night. I mean, small chads probably Monday now at this point. Probably Monday is all I'm saying.
Yeah, probably.
So. Mr. Robot, episode 8. So we got two left. This is the penultimate episode. There's probably a word for it. But hey, like I say, this is late night. I am loopy. This is loopy Mr. Robot discussion, okay? So you're going to get some crazier ideas probably than normal.
Yeah.
Just because of the sense.
And I'm just going to pile that. My fire alarm is beeping because it needs the battery changing, but I don't have a battery. So that's going to be annoying the hell out of me. So if you just see me just kind of occasionally just glare, I'm just hearing that.
Luckily, I didn't hear it. It means it's not going to annoy the audience or me. More importantly, me. The audience
of course.
Relatively important, but me really important.
But if I seem to lose my train of thought somewhere, it's just I'm getting distracted.
So we're going to get into it. This got my notes as per usual. This is a weirder one because normally I watch it and then I watch it again within a few hours and do my notes. Because this week I knew I wasn't doing it until the weekend, I left the second watch until today to just. So that it was fresher in my mind, and I came back to it. So we'll see if that has any effect. But without further ado, we'll get into this week's Mr. Robot. So first up, we start with a flashback at a movie theatre, cinema, in 1995. Now, you could probably roughly guess that anyway, but I know for a fact it's 1995 because I could piece it together from all the movie posters that were around the theatre. I spotted, outside of the ones they were mentioning in the dialogue, I spotted Babe, Casper, and Casino, which are all 1995 movies.
I spotted Babe and Casper.
Yeah, Casino was just as we were going in, or just as he was going at the end of the scene, which. It was cool. It's nice that they stayed. I do want to point out, though, that I believe that all of them... I'm not 100% on Babe, but I think so. But at least the other two, Casper and Casino, are both Universal. So much like the Knight Rider theme, easy clearance. Yeah. Just easy to do it. It's fine. But yeah, so point out, the song that was playing at the start of this scene, the opening lyric was These Old Memories.
I mean, you could look at it as the implication of it's not necessarily a flashback, but more Elliot's actually thinking of the memory.
Ah, sure, yeah, you could. I wasn't even reading it that deep. I just thought it was a noteworthy a lyric because we're in a flashback.
Yeah.
So apparently they've got this thing, which I'm fairly certain we've heard about this before. I don't know if we've seen it before, but we heard about the popcorn, the M&Ms being mixed. I'm sure
we've definitely heard about it.
Yeah, because it wasn't like I was like, oh, this is a radical idea. I was like, oh yes, I remember them bringing that up at some point.
Yeah. My cinema offers this now. It's weird.
Oh, they mix it for you.
Yeah, yeah. Like you can, like it's here's like a handful of things, like M&Ms, a few others. It's like, and they'll just they'll add it on top and mix it in.
Ah, so it's almost like pick 3 or 4 things and we'll
Yeah.
throw it into the popcorn with it. Okay, it's a fine idea, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to the notion. I do want to try it now. Now that I've
Me too.
yeah, now that I've seen it.
I keep seeing it in the cinema going, maybe I should just do it.
That said, that little box of M&Ms was not enough to cover the popcorn quantity of that bucket.
It's not, is it?
I'm
I mean,
pointing that out.
unless the point is, you only get one every so often, so it's like a special surprise when you
Oh,
get
so
one.
yeah, it's a treat. Yeah, it's like giddy, I got an M&M. Although I'll probably put in the peanut or the crispy ones instead of the
Yeah.
regular.
That said, I do find it weird because obviously he eats. You kind of just grab a whole handful and shove it in your mouth, whereas typically I'll just kind of grab a piece of popcorn and flick that in, like maybe one or two. I won't grab like a whole.
To be
handful.
fair, so I mean, I'll probably grab like 3 bits in one go, like a bit of small.
Yeah.
But basically, we're not savages, is what we're saying.
No,
We'll eat, like,
the point is, I would really notice the M&M.
right, yeah, it wouldn't be a surprise.
It wouldn't be a surprise. I'd pick it up and go, "Oh, that's an M&M."
I feel like people don't come to this to hear us talk about mixing popcorn and M&Ms to this extent.
Probably not.
So, this is post the incident with the window being pushed out the window.
Yeah.
He's got a sling on his arm.
So
and-
presumably it was recent.
Yeah, recent, and his dad's obviously sick. He's sicker and sicker, in this scene specifically. But I think it's the sickest we've seen him, at least
definitely.
at least from memory. Because seemingly this may be where he actually isn't maybe die on the scene, but this is maybe the start of the trip to death. Maybe he's taken to the hospital and
Yeah, presumably.
from there. So yeah, but of course the gist of the conversation during the scene is, Elliot's not really into being there, doesn't really want to be hanging out with his dad, he doesn't want to go to the movies, and his dad's like, well, you don't want to, maybe we'll see this instead. He's trying to like sort of convince him, he's trying to be nice and be friendly and do something nice for him, and eventually he's like, I did something bad, I get that, but can you ever forgive me? Like, he's basically asking for an apology for losing his temper. Assuming it happened exactly as we've heard it's happened. We've still not seen the event itself.
Yeah, I still think part of it, he's asking is about the idea of, are you okay? Well, the fact that Elliot had to keep it a secret of him being ill. So I think part of it might be that he's talking about.
Rather than just pushing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, which may have not actually been him that pushed him.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. But no, Elliot's like, no, I can't ever forgive you. He's proper Elliot at this point, in the sense that he's completely monotone and like.
Yeah, the kid does a good job.
Yeah, he's not showing a lot of emotions. He's just straight faced. It's working. But of course, his dad gets kind of upset. He's like, okay, let's just go, and that's when he starts coughing really badly. I mean, he's been coughing throughout the whole scene, but that's when he keels over, and everyone else is around. He's like, call an ambulance, blah 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 blah. And Elliot, complete sociopath, just walks in, picks up his dad's jacket, which he wasn't wearing. He sort of had it like in his arm.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Robot jacket, and just takes that into the movie theater and sits down. And then, of course, turns and tells someone in the chair next to him. No one there, of course. Completely empty.
Yeah.
Shush, the movie's about to start. And, of course, we're like, alright, okay, so we'd always speculated that this was not the first time he'd had an imaginary persona or friend, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, but I don't think we realised it maybe started this early, like before his dad had died.
Well, no, because we had knowledge of this one big previous incident where Angela and Darlene found him at that museum or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And we had speculated a lot about, was it just the dad, but as well that time, was it a different personality? Given that we're seeing it happen just before his dad dies like this, I feel like at least this one probably isn't his dad that he's seeing.
I would assume that, unless the only way I can think that it is his dad, but an idealized, healthy version.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could see that. So it's clear that every time we get a little glimpse of some of this backstory with Elliot and how he developed this condition, or started seeing these people, every single one just makes me realise that there's more to tell. There's more to find out.
Yeah, every time
later.
you think you've kind of got it figured out, it's like, oh no, this is completely new.
Yeah, there's more stuff here than we maybe originally thought. So, and it's happened every season at least once, where it's went, oh no. I mean, obviously season 1 had tons of it because it was like, hey, he's actually Mr. Robot this whole time. Like,
yeah.
But even season 2 and 3, like I feel like they've added on these little bits. Like, okay, there's more to this than maybe we'd figured out. More to unravel, so it's good. So we actually get a really, and this made me really nostalgic. It wasn't the exact same as the one my theatre had, but it was very similar. This must be just a thing in the 90s where they had this over the top animation of like popcorn buckets and things, and like the roller coaster kind of
Splitting
idea.
the hot dog. This is the thing. Again, not the exact one I had, but enough that I was like, yep, I remember basically this.
It's kind of funny how it's completely went away. Like now they're all just kind of like simple and just a bit of text with a bit of music and just kind of like movie's about to begin, turn off your phone or whatever. Depending on where you go, it obviously varies, but
Yeah. Same. Mine's kind of like it's kind of a big bold screen, kind of a low background music, like noise almost. Just kind of, hey, you want to go get popcorn? You got time? Go get some popcorn.
But they're definitely going for more of a classy, simple thing now. Whereas this idea where apparently in the 90s all the theaters had this thing where they had this oval. It was almost like this was the first chance they got to like just do something in a computer and then let's go nuts and do all this.
It is,
stuff.
and now it's like let's have some class. It would be a bit more refined.
I don't know. I kind of miss it. I kind of like, as far as movies go, I don't. And obviously, movies themselves I like to be restrained depending on the tone of the movie.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the coming attractions and stuff, go nuts. Like,
I mean, I think to a degree, I think part of me is like, yeah, this is cool because I'm nostalgic for it and it's like awesome. But I think if I had to do that every time I went to a movie again, like from now, I think I'd get annoyed at it after about the 6th time.
Yeah. I mean, it only lasted about 20 seconds. It wasn't.
I know.
Long.
They're very loud and in your face.
But anyway, so this actually transitions the episode into one of my, that's one of my favourite subjects, as long-time listeners and viewers will know. Aspect ratios. The aspect ratio changes, and obviously it goes wider, it goes cinematic, if you will, because the idea is that this is how we transition into it. We get this really fancy, old-school, cheesy Mr. Robot vert logo coming onto the screen, and the screen widens, we get the black bars, and we get the cinematic sort of 2.4 to 1 ratio for the entirety of the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it's almost as if, this is young Elliot watching this episode as a movie.
Yeah, and I think what's neat about that is, given what present-day Elliot's going through, it's almost like this weird, introverted, reflective thing going on. Where it's kind of like that thing where if you met a 6-year-old you now, what would they think of you? Like, it's almost like he's doing that in his head the entire thing without ever really saying it.
Yeah, it kind
of is. Yeah. But of course, Elliot being Elliot, he's just staring blankly.
Yep.
But so that's the opening scene. That's how we transition into the main section of the episode. So we're with Elliot. We have really sort of the soft, emotional Mr. Robot kind of theme. I'm just going to call it that because I don't know what else to call it. But we've heard it before, but it feels a bit slower, feels just a bit sadder. And actually, the first thing I want to say about this episode that I want to praise it for is that it makes Mobley and Trenton's deaths not be irrelevant. It makes them feel like they mattered and they're important. And
I never thought it was going to be irrelevant, but this does more with it still than I expected.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought it was going to be throwaway, but I actually love that. Given that Elliot and to an extent Darlene and Angela, but especially Elliot, were involved in what led to this.
Yeah.
I loved how much this is actually eating at him. How much this, this episode is ultimately about his conscience.
The whole episode is how's this affected him. The idea that he knows that he was responsible. I mean, Mr. Robot, but him still, and he's aware of that, and they've died for this.
To quote him from this very scene in a couple of minutes, even if it was him, it was me.
Exactly.
It's almost like he's starting to think of it in a mental condition instead of.
He's kind of becoming aware that it's not really a separate personality. It plays like that, but it's kind of part of him.
To tie it into computer terminology, he's becoming self-aware.
I was going to say he's dual partitioned.
Less people are going to get that though. What I said.
Yeah. But mine's better. I don't care if less people get it. The people who do get it will appreciate it.
I don't know if it's better. I mean, that's debatable. But So there's a couple of things we definitely see here. We see him looking at the Trenton and Mobley news. He's sort of scouring all the articles on them. We see that mirror that he broke way back at the start of the season when he had the big emoji head. Yeah. The idea that his life is kind of broken. And he's talking. I just wrote down the theme of deletion. Like he's talking about deleting things, and why you get rid of things when you need to. And right from the get-go, like, I'll just say it, like, right from the get-go, I was feeling this was suicidal. Like, it had that feeling right away. And if you weren't getting that sense
It
at
kind of
first,
brings it up in a bit more specifically.
as soon as Darlene started talking to him and was worried about him, it was like, okay, I get exactly what this is. She is worried about him being suicidal here. This is what this scene is. But no, also just to be symbolic, because Elliot's Elliot, the idea that, he's going to commit suicide, so he's going to completely break it, down his computer and like wipe it clean and make sure no one can look at anything on it. I like that, just symbolically, especially when it comes back into play towards the end of the episode. But
something I noticed here, which I thought was really interesting, is his mouse pad is still an all safe mouse
yeah, I
pad.
noticed that as well.
And I was like, I think it's really interesting how often we've seen how often he replaces all these things, and it's he keeps all these sort of things up to date. But the mouse pad's kind of this throwback, this reminder.
Well, I mean, it's not like the mouse pad retains any data.
It's not, but just more the idea that he's kind of kept it because like he every time he looks down, he's going to see that, and it's going to remind him.
Yeah, I've not used a mouse pad in over a decade.
You're savage. I mean, they're less important now that we're not on the stupid little balls. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, as soon as I switched to a laser, I'm like, I don't need this. Be gone with you.
It's still more accurate with the pad if you get a good mouse pad.
Maybe I'll have to try one sometime to see if I actually concur with that statement. But hey, so all this, and I'm just looking at my notes here. I actually noted down a lot of dialogue for this scene, for various reasons it seems. So obviously Darlene's worried about Angela, presumably for the very same reason she's worried about Elliot. Like, she saw what she was like, breaking down, all that kind of thing. But Elliot doesn't care. He's like, he flat out says, "I don't care." And I just wrote down next to that,
her own problem.
Yeah, guilt, anger, like, because she was a big part of this. She enacted this big plan. As we see later on with billboards and stuff, like they're calling this the cyber bombing, and it's like, remember the 71, because that was 71 buildings that went. The big purple ribbon. So obviously it's been a few weeks, but it's become a big thing. Like, it's really set into, like, we're not right after the incident anymore. We're a few weeks removed, so that we've got names for it now. We've got how people are coping with it, how they're dealing with it. We're seeing like the curfew. We're seeing army in the street. Like, everything's kind of like, obviously they've ramped up security in a lot of places, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I mentioned that line, even if it was me, it was me. I love the tirade he goes on when she's trying to convince him, like, it's not all on him and all that. And he just goes into this thing where he's like, because this is what he wanted, and this is what I wanted, and he's like, oh, look, E-Corp's still okay because of E-Coin? Whoops! Didn't see that coming, did he? Like,
yeah. His
whole thing there, it really felt like he was breaking down, and I really get into that. So, I thought his attitude was just particularly good. But what I did note down here is that he mentions he's tried everything to get rid of him, to get rid of Mr. Robot. He's tried therapy, he's tried self-help, he's tried drugs, he's tried, he sent himself to prison. This is kind of his big capper.
He's tried just fighting, mentally fighting.
Yeah. And I just wrote down next to that, again, already being on this suicidal theme, is like, well, there's only one thing he's not tried.
Yeah.
And obviously it'll get rid of him as well, but that's what I was getting from the reason. But obviously, actually, I compared this next moment to Breaking Bad a little bit. I won't say why. I don't want to spoil Breaking Bad for anyone. But when he leans in and says, "I liked it,"
yeah, okay.
I was getting some real Walter White vibes from that. Obviously, I mean, Walter White's a screwed up dude, but not screwed up in the same way that Elliot is. He's not as complex, I'll say.
No, definitely not.
Screwed up, but a much simpler screwed up.
Yeah, it's much easier to understand.
Yeah, but no, I just thought, and the scene kind of ends with Elliot. Basically, like, Darlene gets really upset. She sits down. He sits down next to her, puts his arm around her, and he makes all these promises. He's like, "Hey, why don't you come over tomorrow? We'll watch what was it? Careful Massacre, that stupid movie where the F Society mask comes from." And
sounds like such a you movie, that.
Me? Oh yeah, I'd watch it.
Yeah,
I'd watch it. But she's worried. She wants to stay over, spend the night. She wants to look after him, make sure he's okay. But he's like, no. I need time alone. And I was like, man, this feels like such an empty promise. We'll do this tomorrow. It just felt like he was trying to get her out of the way. That's all this felt like. And it feels like that path of self-destruction that he's on. You know, kind of like how, like he's going sailing, but he's not actually bringing anything with him because he's not expecting to come back. It really kind of feels like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's this
Yeah,
idea of everything he's doing is like, okay, I'm just kind of clearing up the pieces, like the
yeah,
computer. It's like, okay, well, this is just for safety's sake.
yeah. He never has to confront this lie because he's not going to be here tomorrow. That's what he's thinking, at least.
Yeah.
So. So no, so this is not a cheery episode. I should point that out right now. So it's a very, very depressing episode
I
for a
mean,
lot of
have
it.
have we had any cheery episodes in a while?
I don't know. The Tyrell episode was a romantic tale.
Oh yeah, okay. I
That was
suppose
quite
that was
upbeat.
the least bad.
Hey, and I'll say this: the ending of this episode was like really uplifting.
It was.
So it's not all
Yeah.
bad and gloom. I think after the turmoil of the last like 3 episodes, which were all tension, tension, tension. Oh god, terrorist attack! We needed an. I think that's the other thing I'd say about this episode is we needed a one that was slower, one that slowed down and was like, no, here, let's breathe, let's find out where Elliot is, because we went almost the whole episode last week without Elliot. So no, this week it's not Elliot, it's the star. He's like in every single goddamn scene.
I think it's really fascinating that we don't see anything from the FBI. We don't see how Dom's still pursuing anything. We see nothing except Elliot.
Yeah, and people he interacts with when he
Well,
does. Yeah. So in that way, almost like I felt like a throwback episode. It felt like a season one episode.
It's kind of been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, since we just had that, which isn't that complaint. Honestly, all the characters at this point are so fascinating that I never feel like, oh, why are we with Anne or why are we with Darlene? Like
Yeah.
they're all great now, so like whatever. But yeah, so and again, the idea he's cleaning things up before he departs, if you will, before he deletes, giving the dog to the neighbour. And you even get the sense that he's been doing this a lot recently because the neighbour's got food there. He's already got his favourite toy.
Yeah, it talks about how he's kind of just been dog sitting whenever he's
Yeah.
going to be away for the weekend, busy. But again, this is the idea. He's like, yeah, I'll come back from tomorrow.
And then we encounter a very charming individual by the name of Hard Andy.
Yes. So some really inventive names for the criminals on this show.
This is a drug dealer. Elliot's there for morphine, which we've not seen him take that in a long time.
No, it's true. I saw it in the previously on. I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. It was a big thing in season 1.
Yeah. So what, is he just going to go back on that? Because when I saw that in the previous one, I was like, I don't know if I feel him just getting addicted again. But obviously, it becomes clear in this scene that this is not about just
No.
effects.
I mean, I was okay with the idea in general. The idea of because morphine it's to numb yourself, and the idea once it became clear that this episode was about dealing with that guilt, I thought, okay, he just doesn't want to deal with it. Just go numb.
Now, of course, the deal is very suspicious when Elliot wants to buy the whole bag. Makes him strip down. I thought this was a very degrading scene for Elliot, but it showed how desperate he was, how much he was just ready to be done. Because he's he looks uncomfortable the entire time, but he never really fights it. He just kind of.
I think part of that as well is that he's like, yeah, okay, the drug dealer is probably right to be suspicious when someone comes trying to buy the whole bag.
Because the drug dealer even figures it out. If you're not working for the cops, if you're not some idiot who's trying to resell it on my turf, then there's only one other option really, is you're trying to kill yourself. Like he calls it. But one of the things he comes up to him and says, he makes a sort of pass at him, but the way he phrases it I thought was very interesting. He says, "A cute little boy like you," which first of all, very creepy when you're implying you want to have sex with him. Secondly, I thought this was very interesting because we started the episode where he was a little boy. It was almost like for a second, like for right now, he feels like that little boy again.
He's kind of reverted to that point.
Yeah, even though the drug dealer doesn't know that, but just the fact that he says it, it made me think of the fact that we started with him as a kid.
I think emotionally he has, because we talked about how in that open he's very cold. He's full sociopath. His dad drops potentially dead, and he just kind of grabs the jacket and walks off.
But no, that's that scene. So then his final business, so because there's a scene where we know he was going to kill himself, right, which is coming up, and the two final things he does before he's going to do that is he goes to both Mobley and Trenton's families. He goes to Mobley's brothers first.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. I realised we have overlooked a scene here between the dog and the morphine.
Is this throwing out the
jacket? Yeah,
clothes? Yeah, you're right. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Get back on your notes a second if you want to check those.
Did I write that down? I think I did. I just had it next to the dog thing. Yeah, Mr. Robot Jacket deleting codes. He's getting rid of all that. Again, very symbolic. I don't have a whole lot to say about it.
No, again,
Yeah.
but it's this idea of that was the one thing he did take in that moment in the flashback.
Yeah, so
You
he's
know,
even giving that up
he
now.
was clinging on to that personality, which again maybe does lend some credence to the idea that the imaginary friend was some version of his dad.
Yeah, maybe.
They was like, no, this jacket's for him.
Yeah, maybe that time in the theater was the first time he ever did it, or the first time he ever spoke to someone.
Oh, it could be, yeah.
Yeah, that was the
I,
start
I
of it.
wonder if we're saying how he's really cold and sociopathic. Maybe he kind of just doesn't process it and doesn't realize quite what's happening because he sees this version of his dad come into the cinema with him and
Yeah,
doesn't really understand what's happening.
maybe. It's hard to say. So he goes to Mobley's brother, and this is where we see the effect that this Dark Army plot has had on like the family members of these people. We see that he believes the news. He's like, "Oh, my brother's a terrorist. I'm not giving him a funeral." Like he's like angry about it. He's dismissive. He just believes it. He's like, "Oh yeah, my brother was always a loser. No wonder he got into this kind of thing." He just believes it. And Elliot,
He's very selfish. He's like, yeah, I might get fired because of this guy.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, Elliot tries to say no, he wouldn't do this. It's a lie. He was a good person. I do love the idea that the final thing he wanted to do before he went and offed himself was try and make some kind of peace with their family members and actually try and let them know that no, this wasn't who he was.
Yeah, it's this guilt, and he knows that it's his fault, so he's trying to restore their good names.
Yeah. So obviously he believes every word of it. It's when he's walking to Trenton's, we see the billboards and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Trenton's family's a little bit different though. They're moving house. You get from our father. We hear that oh no, like life's hard here. Their windows are getting hit. They're being harassed, and he's like, okay, there's nothing left for us here. We have to leave. But as much as he's very obviously standoffish with Elliot, he does actually accept what he says a lot more than Mobley's brother did. Because he even thanks him at the end of the scene. Hey, thank you for saying nice things about my daughter. He wants to believe that she's not responsible for any of this stuff.
Yeah, with this one, it's like you say standoffish, but it's more a matter of he's just so expectant of people coming up and hurling abuse at him because of all this. Like like you say, the reason they're moving is they've just kind of this is such a common thing at the moment, so he's just expecting more. So it's a surprise to him.
Yeah, and I think it's also a nice little touch here that the brother was an asshole, but this father was a good, strong father figure here. And it just because, especially since with Elliot, his father's such a big theme in everything the show is. We start with his father dying, but we see here that the father of this girl is the one who believes that no, she was innocent. I don't believe what they're telling me about her. I know who my daughter was. Yeah. So if we're going to tie into even like further back guilt, the idea that he didn't like give his father a chance, you could tie that in here as well to that. So I really like that. But no, I just want to say how much I love how it's treating their deaths like this, where it's like, no, this is important. It means something. We're going to spend an episode dealing with the personal consequence of it.
I think it says a lot that it's their deaths that leads Elliot to become suicidal. Like, everything else that he's been through, and we've never got this impression that he's ever been like this before.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's as simple as he knows they're good people.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the other people who have been hurt maybe haven't been the worst people ever, but I think with Trenton and Mobley, especially Trenton, because Mobley did come across a bit of a dick a lot of the time, but Trenton always felt very quiet and like she was always a very smart person who seemed to want have the best intentions for things.
Do you know what's something that's interesting? I think it is. We always talk about how when you kill like a faceless mass of people on a TV show or a movie, we don't really feel the impact. It's like, yeah, okay, we get it. A lot of people just die, but we don't really have that same connection. But then when you show us someone who we do care about die, it matters. And this is kind of the same thing for Elliot. That 71 buildings, he kind of maybe would have just about struggled through. But then...
Oh yeah, it affected him, of course, but yeah, it's not quite the same. And I think, in addition to the fact that Mobley and Trenton have died, and he knew them, and he knew they were good people, it's the fact that they've now been, publicly they're being treated as terrorists. Like their reputation, their legacy has been completely obliterated by this news.
And it's the idea. It's like, oh, okay, no. Now it's personal. Now it's people he cares about, not just this faceless crowd.
Yeah, they've poisoned the memory, and they've poisoned it with the thing that he's more responsible for. He's not entirely responsible. We know the Dark Army and White Rose are the real reasons.
Yeah,
for
and
a lot of
he was trying his best to stop it.
Yeah.
But he's still Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think part of it as well is, just the whole idea originally going back to the 5-9, all of that was kind of his idea to start with.
Sure, but like what part of like White Rose's plan after that was already kind of part of a plan anyway, and what
Right,
part
right. But
was like,
how
yeah.
much is he thinking that, and how much is he going,
Oh,
I started this?
I completely get why he feels guilty about it. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, from an outsider's perspective, we look at it logically and go, no, but this and that person's more
Yeah, yeah.
responsible for
He's just
this.
going, no, I started this. This is my fault.
Yeah, you get why he feels that way. You absolutely do. So we go to the beach. We go to Coney Island for the apparent, and this is actually the first time in the episode where because of the aspect ratio change. One of the things I was noticing was how they were handling the headroom, because obviously there's less height. I mean,
Yeah.
arguably there's more width than less height, but depending on how you frame it, like it is different. The way you frame the person is different. And normally you have a very straight rule of thirds where you always want the eye line to be kind of where we've got it for our cameras, for me, right? But Mr. Robot, of course, likes to have kind of this, right?
Yeah.
So that's not even, it's not quite the lower third either, right? So you have this weird thing where how do you like
Translate that.
into except unless you just go wider and you don't really account for it, but then you feel like I'm really small in the frame. So also I love that I got to show an example of my camera. Obviously the audio people got none of that. I apologise, but for the video people you got a nice demonstration. So I was sort of noticing like, how they're handling that, how's Esmail using that, and up until this point I don't really feel like I'd felt like a great use of the framing. It wasn't bad, like it wasn't like bothering me, it wasn't like a detractor. But it wasn't until I was sitting on that beach where I felt, oh god, they're using it now. Like this big
Yeah.
wide cinematic shot of like the empty beach, just him.
It's the first time that like, you just mentioned how if you don't account for that, you feel small in the frame.
Yeah,
This is the first time Elliot felt small in this episode.
yeah. He's tiny in the frame, but it's a gorgeous shot. You've got the horizon line going across the whole way. This is what the wide frame is built for. Was stuff like this where you get the big thing. This is why Godless on Netflix is filmed in this ratio, because it's a western and you have those big wide open deserts and forests and whatever, but all of it looks great in this frame. And that's kind of what this is here. And he pulls out his morphine, his big bag of morphine, like big chunky morphine tablets that he's just going to down apparently. Which I mean would do the trick, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine that's plenty.
I imagine like a
Half
quarter
of that at
yeah.
most. Yeah,
But,
I don't know how much morphine
one
you
typically
need,
takes,
but
yeah.
not that much. I'm fairly confident.
I'm fairly confident that's enough to put down like an elephant, probably.
Yep, yep. That was a lot of morphine.
There's a lot of morphine. It's morphine time. So
God,
that was
I'm
great.
sorry, that was atrocious.
Hey, it's not often I get to reference the hit children's television show, The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, on this. I took my chance, took my shot.
Christ. Oh, can you tell it's late, folks?
Oh yeah. So he's on the beach, and it's funny because so Trenton's little brother shows up. The funny thing is that my first thought was he's not there. This is all he
I
said.
did it, even for quite a while. I was still like, is he there?
It wasn't really until they got to the theater that later on that I was kind of convinced. Okay, he's actually just there.
Yeah, yeah. For a long time, I was like, he doesn't need to be here for definite.
I really thought it was just in his head, and this was like a sort of like just like how he needs Mr. Robot for certain occasions. This was an occasion where he needed the opposite. He needed someone who was younger and smaller.
I agree. I felt like it was almost like a stand-in for his own young self.
But it still is thematically. It's just not
It is,
him
yeah.
doing
But I
it.
thought,
Yeah.
like more directly in his head.
But because I actually wrote down the first thing I wrote down here in my notes for when he showed up was childhood of Christmas past. That's what I wrote. It's not Christmas.
I just
of course,
put
but
young Elliot dot because it's what it was.
a dot. Like you mean full stop or period?
Well, yeah, but
Who calls it a dot?
dot just seemed to flow better in that sentence.
All right. Yeah, but it's interesting things here. So Elliot's like, "Hey, go back home. You don't need to be here." And again, it feels like he's weird little conscience because he's noticing the bag of pills and he's like, "Oh, that's a lot of pills. He's sick." He's like, "Yeah, I'm sick. Go away. Go home." And he keeps saying, "Oh, I don't know how." It's like, "Well, how did you get here?" I was like, "I don't know. I just followed you. I don't know how to get home." It's like, "Take the train." I don't know how. And actually, I was sort of thinking about this, and I was like, this whole idea of not being able to go home again, not being able to reverse what he's just done, thinking about 5-9, thinking about everything Elliot's done, the idea that he can't just go back. He can't just, go back the way and fix it that way. He has to keep moving forward. So I was getting like that from this, and just representing Elliot's mistakes. But yeah, so but anyway, he eventually gets frustrated, gets up, and takes him back home.
Yes.
And no one's home. The parents aren't there.
So, something small, interesting little thing. The only time in the episode that this happens, as he knocks on the door, you hear the distortion that we typically, that we've been hearing for the last few episodes.
I did not notice that. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's the idea of this is Elliot being kind of that father figure at this point. He's kind of switched roles into that without noticing.
Yeah, there was a little bit on the way to the house as well, where the kid's bragging that he can take his shoe off.
While standing up.
Yeah, when he goes to the mosque, and he joked that Trenton used to always trip over when she was trying to put her shoe back on or whatever. And he said, "Oh, I can take it off and put it back on without falling." And of course, Elliot's just fresh. He's like,
it does that thing. He's like, "Do you want to see it?" It's like, "No," and he does it anyway. It's like,
he's like,
"That's awesome."
Yeah, can you do it? Probably.
That's how I like dealing with kids. One word answers. Just shut up.
Yeah, I'm fully on his side with this one, but they can't get in the house, right? The door's locked and no one's answering, and the kid's like, "Oh, I mean, the parents probably went to my uncle's," and he's like, "Oh, but where?" And he's like somewhere in Connecticut, and he's like, "Connecticut? That's 2 hours away." He's like, "Yeah, so I should go and see a movie." Because he also, by the way, I did note down just for my own amusement, he's asking him like that annoying kid thing. He's like, "Oh, do you like TV? Do you like this? Do you like that?" And he says, "Do you like Wii U?" And I'm like, "Kid, no one likes Wii U."
I always forget. Well, occasionally I forget what year this is set in.
Oh, that's coming up. I've got a lot of comments about the year in a minute.
I know. Every so often I forget, and then they'll just reference something, and then when he said Wii U, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're still a couple of years ago."
Even in 2015, that was on its dying legs, though. Remember, that was limping along for a long time before we got the
I'm not
Switch.
sure it was ever really born.
It's an abortion survivor.
Yeah, it was in the incubation chamber things. I can't think of it. It was just in one of those its whole life.
An iron lung. Is that what you mean?
No, the ones in the hospital where they put them in the little the little trays that keep them warm and stuff.
Aye. It never quite survived. Never quite lived.
It never got out of the hospital, that's for sure.
Oh dear. So the kid's like, "Oh, I never beat the movies." Parents say it's too expensive, and obviously, like, we started with Elliot as a kid at the movies, and he didn't want to go there then, and he doesn't want to go there now as an adult. But the kid's like, "Oh, well, we're going to be like 2 hours. Might as well just go and see a movie." And I was like, "Are you lying to me? Just so I'll take you to a movie?" No. And that he's thinking, he's like, "This little shit's lying to me." And we find out later he is lying. He's got a key.
Not necessarily because he goes, "Are you lying that they're 2 hours away?"
Okay, sure, but there's deceit happening.
He was truthful in that moment.
You are the asshole. Would argue this kid's in the right here. You are the asshole.
No. Kid's still a dick. Don't be wrong. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying, in this one moment, he gets himself off on a technicality.
But so the final line of the scene is Elliot says, "Only if there's something good playing," and then it cuts.
I knew what it was going to be.
Actually, the first thing that happens is that Mr. Sandman starts playing in the music. "Mr. Sandman, give me a dream," which was used in Back to the Future. And it cuts to the movie board, and it's just Back to the Future, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3, which made me cackle with laughter.
Yeah,
because it was all three.
I knew what it was going to be though, because it's like what's the one movie that Elliot would be like, "Oh yeah, we're definitely watching that."
It never clicked for me what it was going to be. I laughed out loud when I saw the names, and then when he brought, and I was like, "Oh, that's convenient that they're out in the cinema this day." And then I just sort of like shrugged it off, like whatever. And then like 20 seconds later, he explained why they're in theaters, and I went, "Holy shit, yeah!"
Yeah.
I'm like, that's right, it's set in 2015. They came back to theaters because it was the day Marty came to the future in Back to the Future Part 2. This was a thing.
Yeah, this happened everywhere.
Yeah. Which, by the way, tons of people at the theatre are dressed in costume because they're actually Back to the Future. My favourite costume out of all of them was there was a girl dressed as the shark from Jaws 19. from Back to the Future Part 2. Just that amused me. There's a lot of inventive costumes actually. There was various Lorraines, there was various Martys, various Docs with different parts of the movies. It was fun stuff. But no, I was like, oh man, this is a great touch that this happens to be that day. I like the idea that in the day Elliot might commit suicide, like it happens to be the day that Marty went to the future and Back to the Future Part 2. That is beautiful to me.
Elliot even mentions that he's been waiting most of his life to see this movie
since he was a kid.
Day.
That was the line. Since he was your age or whatever it was, he said.
Yeah. It's been so long. He's been waiting for this, and this was the day he was going to give up. And now it's like, but here's this thing you've been waiting for, and
he's made it. He's somehow made it here.
But you can see he can take it either way. It's like, well, this is one last thing. I'm here. I made it to this point. This is all I wanted. Alternatively, it'd be like, oh, maybe this is getting here is a reason to stick around. What's the next thing that I can get that I always wanted?
Yeah. But it's like, and obviously the kid's like, oh, let's go see The Martian. He's like, yeah, The Martian looks like shit. We're going to see Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying it's the best movie ever. The Martian's pretty good.
Oh, I like The Martian.
You're wrong on this one.
I do wonder if Esmail has a particular beef with The Martian, or if it's just a simple case of Elliot. I don't care what the other movie is. We're seeing Back to the Future Part 2.
It could be that.
Because it's his favourite movie. So, no, but there was a lot of funny dialogue here. This was the 21st of October 2015 for the record, just to be specific about that. Once again, he gets the popcorn, the M&Ms, and mixes it, and convinces the brother that this is the best way to eat popcorn, and the brother tries it and agrees. And maybe I'm going too far with this, but I was just wondering, does this represent like the mixing of different things and like the idea of, I mean, whether it's Elliot's two mixed personalities that contradict each other.
No, I get, to go back to when I was just saying how I heard the distortion on the door, and Elliot was kind of becoming the father figure, and it was taking aspects of Mr. Robot.
Yeah,
is this the idea of what we're seeing now going forward might not be just Elliot? We might actually get to see a mixture of the two kind of working at once.
Yeah, it might fuse and become Elliot Prime.
Sure.
What else am I going to call it?
yeah, I'm allowing it.
Yeah. So I actually wrote down a lot of dialogue for this next bit because there was a conversation between a couple of randomers with Elliot that I thought was particularly notable in how meta it was. It felt like Sam Esmail was intentionally making fun of us.
Yes.
So basically, Elliot's trying to explain to the little brat, what Back to the Future 2 is, and he says, it's about going to the future to change the past, then coming back to an alternate present. And then this douchebag in front, I like how he says, no, it's way heavier than that. Like, he's been Marty. He says, this is heavy. Not that Connor remembers that line from the movie because he doesn't like it that much.
Don't dislike it. I think it's a very good movie.
You're in your mid-20s and you've seen it once.
I'm not sure I need to see it anymore than that.
I've seen it dozens of times. Twice at the theatre, might I add.
Look, it's very good. I don't know. Maybe I just saw it too late. What do you want me to say? It's fine.
We'll get a time machine and go back and see it at younger age. Tell your little ginger self that stop being a prick, watch some proper movies.
Yeah, but I just watched Star Wars on repeat, so I'm good.
I've seen Back to the Future way more times than any Star Wars movie. Anyway, so then this guy sort of jumps in and he says, no, you can't go into the future to change the past. It's way heavier than that. He goes to the future to change the future, but that allows Biff to change the past, which changes the future again. So if we're going to correlate that to the show specifically, Biff is White Rose.
Yes.
Right? Biff is White Rose, and that loose analogy. But then this woman behind him says, no. It's much simpler than that. It's about how one mistake can change the world. And I sort of looked at the screen and went, right, Esmail, I get it. You're making fun of us for all these weird theories.
Yeah. Well, one lot's blaming White Rose, and this one's essentially saying, okay, no, it's Elliot's fault. I don't want to say fault, but his mistake.
I was even just talking about all the crazy time travel and alternate reality theories.
Yeah, and this one's just like, no, it's way simpler.
Yeah, it's just one mistake can change the world. It's that simple. Of course, the themes...
I wonder if the reality is Elliot's, because he's the middle ground of, okay, there's some things that it's complicated, but it's not really just simple.
Yeah, no, I think that works. I think we keep saying this, but even if there is no literal alternate realities or time travel of any kind. I mean, Zhang's building something, but what it is, whatever. But like at the very least, thematically, all of this stuff is absolutely relevant.
It is.
So they're going in. There was a little dig at Rotten Tomatoes on the way in because the kids try to convince him to go see The Martian. He's like, it's got 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, and he's like, well, that's because critics have shit taste.
Yes. Elliot's really bitter about this movie.
He is. He's really bitter.
And this is a movie he hasn't even seen. He's just like, yeah, it looks shit. It's like, come on, give it a chance. I wonder if that is something though. He's kind of judging it on just having. He's kind of doing this. All the kids not seen it either, but he's really excited based on Rotten Tomatoes. He's like, oh yeah, look, everyone's saying it's great. It must be great. But Elliot's like, no, I've seen enough. I don't care. And I wonder if there's this commentary of you've got to judge it for yourself and make your own decision.
Well, it's not like Elliot's doing that either. I mean,
no, that's my point.
Yeah,
maybe
but I feel like
wrong.
I feel like you need to have an example that's doing the right thing to really hit that message home.
I don't know. I feel like the idea of, oh, no, these are both the two extremes because they're both on opposite sides. They're wrong. So you've got to be somewhere in the middle. But maybe my middle that I've just given there isn't the exact middle that someone else might think. But
I feel like it's just meant to be a funny joke. But I mean, maybe.
I don't know because he really doesn't like the sound of this movie.
Yeah, but this thing at Rotten Tomatoes just kind of felt like all these young shits who just look at Rotten Tomatoes scores and say, oh, it's 90-something%, it must be good, let's go see it. It's like, shut up. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is very useful. That said, that whole delay in the score of Justice League to make an announcement out of it pissed me off royally.
That was bullshit.
That was just complete nonsense.
That was bullshit to the max.
So they're in the theatre. There's a Doc Brown sitting next to him who says, hey, can you hold my popcorn? I need to clean my fancy future glasses.
No, it was his flux capacitor he wasn't told.
Oh, it's just wait. I think I didn't remember, so I just put in something that was normal to ask someone to hold at the theatre, and of course, no, it was a giant flux capacitor. Quite right,
yeah, because Elliot
right.
looks down, he's like, why the hell am I holding this?
I mean, hell, you could even relate this to like here. This is White Rose saying here, be involved in my time travel plot whilst I get a clearer look at my plans. And then taking it back off of him. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching there, but he clears his future space goggle things, and I just thought, like, okay, so he's getting a clearer vision of what's going on. Now, I want to point out during this whole scene, we're actually getting footage of Back to the Future 2. We're actually seeing parts of the movie, and I thought the scene that we were watching in the movie was again notable and had a point to it, right?
Okay.
Because first of all, it's them arriving in the future. Right? Which, again, for Elliot, it almost feels like he has time travelled from the kid in the cinema to present day. Because that thing where he's like, oh shit, it's that day, I've been waiting for this my whole life. He has actually time travelled. So I think that's very important. And then two, I think the dialogue in the scene, the scene that we hear, all of the dialogue is about how you shouldn't know too much about your own future.
Yes.
All of it is. Because Marty's like, oh, am I rich, am I a rock star, am I this? And Doc's like, no, you can't know too much about your own future. I think the choice of scene was very important. He didn't just go, oh, let's pick a random scene. He said no.
Of course not.
Thematically, this is the one that's hitting what I'm saying in this scene. And the kid disappears. He's Elliot was too engrossed in the movie, the kid just kind of vanished. And obviously, at this point I'm thinking, oh, was he kind of fake? But then, of course, he gets outside and the usher's like, no, he was there, he bailed.
Yeah, that was the moment I was like, okay, he was real. Because, again, up till that point, I was like, okay, I don't know why there's an empty seat next to Elliot, but I can find a way. I can explain it somehow.
And he figures out where he goes because he sees a Lorraine from the alternate 1985 in a dress struggling with her high heels, and he's like, wait a minute. He went to his mosque because it's shoes, which is a fun way of doing it. But yeah, so then we get a kind of a weird scene where this he runs out into the road and this ice cream truck kind of stops for him, and it's a really friendly man.
Yeah.
Who's like, hey, try me, I might be able to help whatever's bothering you. And maybe it's just as simple as he recognises that he was running onto the road without caring, that maybe he should help him. It could be that simple. Okay. But, obviously we like to read into things and whatnot. But, yeah, so he's like... Because Elliot's like, oh, I'm looking for a mosque near a park. Because he's not sure exactly what it is, he just knows it was near there.
Yeah, near a playground in a park.
Yeah. And he's like, And the guy's like, oh, is it this one, this one, or this one? And he's like, he's like, okay, we'll figure it out, hop in. And I'm like, okay, this guy's been really nice. Like, and obviously, I think just from a thematic point of view, it's the idea that right now Elliot needs human kindness. Like that,
Yeah,
he needs
this is exactly what he needs to keep going. The realization that not everyone is awful.
Yeah, pretty much. Worth mentioning as well is that the ice cream man is playing a radio play of War of the Worlds on his radio. And they have a little again the idea of the optimism where he's like, oh yeah, it's not the end of the world. By the end of the story, the humans they prevail, they survive, they win. What I did note down though was one of the last things you hear from the War of the Worlds play, the line of dialogue. Life has no continuity with the present.
Very interesting.
Again, if we're going back to this idea that Elliot kind of, in his head at the very least, time travelled, because, like, even if it's just as simple as part of him went away on that day his dad died, but that part returned today, that part kind of time travelled in a thematic sense.
I mean, even on a more just a regular occurrence in this show, you could argue every time that he vanishes and Mr. Robot takes over for a few days and then he comes back, he time travels because he's like, okay, what's changed? What's different this time?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. So just that line, life has no continuity with the present, is just I think it's poking at that idea.
Yeah, and of course the actual guy telling him about, it's all about that optimism, the hope in the end is, this big thematic thing for Elliot right now. It's like, okay, keep going, you get through all the shit, and it's better after.
So he gets to the mosque, and the kid's there on his own, and he comes in, and there's a bit of back and forth about why did you leave? Oh, it was boring. You didn't want to be there. That was his main reason. You didn't really want to be there. So like, it felt like a burden. So he kind of ran away. Didn't feel wanted.
Yeah.
Which I imagine this is something the kid's feeling a lot of right now, given what his sister's been accused of. Everyone feels like everyone's making this family feel like they're not wanted.
I mean, even within his family, he mentions how his parents don't even really notice when he's not around because they're kind of caught up with everything at the minute.
Yeah. And there's a little bit where he's like, no, you're not allowed their shoes on in here. And he's like, so Elliot goes back over to the little entrance, and he's like, I'm not going to fall when I put them back on. And he's like, we'll see. And I almost did that again, a little thematic thing where, if he does go back home, if he does find his way back to wanting to live, he won't stumble. Like, he will, like...
Yeah.
It's
that confidence of, no, I can do this. It's kind of, this is where you start to see that okay, that's coming through at some point.
But of course here we finally get kind of the actual admission of what he was going to do. The kid maybe doesn't realise that this is an admission, but we do. The kid's like, oh, I hate you, you're this, you're that, I wish you were dead, and then Elliot just shouts out, so do I. Yeah. And it's a really dark moment. I mean, that's just Rami Malek's acting in this episode is... This is Emmy worthy. This is because obviously actors have to submit an episode for the Emmy, for the acting awards. This is the one. I mean, unless maybe 9 and 10 will blow me away.
We don't know that for sure yet, because they could.
So far, this is the one he hands in. This is the one he says, no, this is why I want the award. Or the producers make that choice. I don't know who makes the choice, but this is the one that gets picked.
Someone make this one, yeah.
Yeah. So no, yeah. Fantastic moment. But the kid blames himself. The kid's like, oh, this is kind of all my fault. I drove her away, blah, blah, blah. And Elliot basically just kind of... He doesn't admit what he did exactly, but he's like, no, it's not her fault. It's my fault. Don't you blame yourself. Don't you blame her. Don't you blame your family. Don't you blame anyone else but me. It's me. It's the idea he wants this guilt on his shoulders. He doesn't want it to affect him. Because that's the big thing. He's found out how it affected Mobley's brother, how Trenton's family's having to move from their home because of this. He's like, no, don't you dare feel guilt over this. This is me. This is on me. Yeah.
And again, to go back to this idea of guilt that he's been having, he's kind of got away with it. Which I think that's why he feels so suicidal. He's like, no, they're being punished. I should be as well.
Yeah, but basically because of what happened, him and Darlene are just off the hook.
Yeah.
Which is why I think either they're going to go to Dom for help at one point, or Dom's going to come to them with like, all right, what are you cooking up? Like,
yeah, because this idea, well, we're not going to prosecute you now because as far as the world's concerned, we've got our guys.
Yeah. Which is why I think ultimately it's like, Dom will realise that he's up to something and then ask or find out what it is and then be like, I want in this because damn, like we're going to take this asshole down. We're going to take the Dark Army down for what they've done. So no, and obviously at this point we're still in a place of like kind of hopelessness because how do you do that? How do we do that? There's no hope of actually achieving any of this. Like right now, it's just a kind of about a fight for wanting to live, if anything. And that's not just him. It's like, from what it sounds like, Angela's also in a bad place, maybe suicidal. We've not seen her yet, of course, to see that. Darlene is arguably coping a little bit better because she doesn't seem to be suicidal herself, but she's definitely not in a great place, and she's mortified of what Elliot might do. So
yeah, she's the one trying to prop everyone up at the minute.
Yeah,
and that might crush her at some point.
It might. I'm not. I'm not looking forward to that. But yeah. So yeah. Actually, I just had more notes on that shoe thing. I said Elliot's off right now in general. Like, just the idea that his shoes have been off for a long time now. So
Okay.
just metaphorically, I mean, I'm just adding more bullshit to the fire for no reason there. But so the kid has this little thing. Elliot sits down next to him, and the kid tells him like, "Hey, I'm the first person in my family who could be president." And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, Trenton couldn't be because she wasn't born here, and obviously my parents couldn't be, but I was born here. Like, I could be president. Isn't that cool?" It's like, "Yeah, I guess that's pretty cool." No, obviously, I think the first thing I would read from that is just, again, this idea of hope. Like, the future could be okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the American dream. You do it, you can better yourself. You can rise to be president.
Yeah.
Anyone can.
The idea that his sister could only do so much, and obviously it got to her a very bad place, but she tried to change the world. But the idea is that he could I mean, the chances of him doing it are very slim, of course, but he could theoretically actually legitimately change the world in the sort of proper channels.
Yeah.
Like he technically has that path open. I also love when he says, "Oh, could you be president?" Nah, probably not. Why, were you not born here? No, I was born here. I just just did a lot of shitty things. It's not happening.
Yeah.
But of course he asks, "Oh, so where were you born?" And because they're both from New Jersey, and he's like, "Oh, Trenton," and I'm like, "Oh man, that's why she was called that, because that's where they first moved in or arrived when they got here." And I'm like, "Oh man, that's." I don't know.
She the whole idea is she's getting blamed right now for all the links to Iran, and it's the idea that her name was, her really taking on her American identity as much as she could. The idea is like, no, this is where I'm from. This is who I am.
It was a little tug at the heartstring. It was a really nice little touch to just add a little more weight to something that didn't need weight. I didn't really need to know why she was called Trenton, but this was the best reason at the best possible time to tell us that.
Absolutely.
So also just a little thing is the kid's saying what he'd do if he was president, and he's like, "Oh, I'll force people to like me. Everyone would have Pop-Tarts for dinner. Noble goals, might I add." And he's like, "Oh, so you'd be a dictator." He's like, "What's a dictator?" He's like, "It's a really shitty president." Oh, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So they go back home to the kid's place, and they go up the stairs, and the kid just pulls out a set of keys and goes in. And I just started laughing so hard, like Elliot's face. But again, I actually read a little bit here thematically, the idea that he had access to get back in the whole time, just like Elliot did. He just needed to find it in his pocket, essentially. I mean, the kid knew it was there, obviously, but from Elliot's perspective, he just had to find the will to actually go back in.
Yeah, and you mentioned how when Elliot had that admission, and like, oh, the kid didn't really know. I mean, the kid knew enough that it's like, no, he needs me to stick around, like, because the kid could have just gone home, but I think the kid was like, no, this guy, he's seen the pills, he's like, you're sick, and enough that he's like, okay, maybe I should stick around.
I wouldn't read it like that.
No,
I think it's maybe a bit much to assume the kid actually is consciously doing this.
Not to that extent of like, oh, he's gonna kill himself if I don't, but more the idea of just, hey, he looks like he'd use a friend.
Okay, you're sort of heading more where I'd go with that. I think I would view it more as the kid just likes Elliot because Elliot's he treats him like a person, and like everyone else probably does right now, and actually gives him the time of day. Even his parents aren't doing that. But I like it more from the perspective that he just likes Elliot, and he's like, "Hey, like, am I going to see you again?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll take you to see The Martian before you have to leave." And it's just a very sweet moment, and he's like, "Hey, wait a minute, I'll go get you something." And Elliot crying while the kid's away. This idea that the kid wants to see him again, and the moment Elliot says, "Yeah, I'll see you again," that's the moment where he decided he's not killing himself because he realised he can't. Because someone he made this kid's life better. He made his day better.
That's it. All the lies they told this episode to Darlene, the guy we gave the dog to. And with the fully intending to break all of those promises, so
Yeah.
all those things that he said he'll do. It's like, yeah, but he can't do that to the kid.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'll see you again. I will take you to see that dumb movie. Of course, the kid's like, oh yeah, I mean, Matt Damon's great. Like, like sure,
It's not
kid,
wrong.
sure, kid, whatever. But like, just him break it. Like when the kid goes to get the what eventually turns out to be a lollipop, uh, Elliot just breaking down might be the most emotionally vulnerable we've ever seen him in this show.
Yeah, and that's saying something.
That is really saying something. But I really felt this kind of like just this realization that I don't want to kill myself. I can't kill myself. That moment, like you feel it. And again, it's the acting, it's the writing, it's the music
it's
as well.
Yeah, as I see, all the different emotions. There's the relief of going, okay, I'm not going to kill myself, but then kind of the horror of I still have to get through all this shit before I get to the good stuff afterwards.
Oh sure, yeah. I don't think he's really necessarily processing that too much at this moment. No, I feel like this moment is purely just I can't do this. Like this, no, this isn't always happening. Like I think this is just purely that choice, or maybe in a broader sense, just the idea of finding some hope again. Because, and I think again, relaying it back to the start of the episode and him and his father, this idea that he realized what his dad was trying to do the entire time, perhaps that he realized what his dad was trying to do for him when he was a kid.
Yeah, and again, like the idea that he has become his dad at this point.
He is, but what I like about it is it's not that simple because he's still him. Like he's not, because when I said earlier on, it's like he's still the one who doesn't want to go to the movies. He's still being himself. He's still the same as he was as a kid. But it's this weird thing where he still has to kind of do the father part as well, and it's like it's kind of saying that he kind of has to go into that role, but he's still himself. He's not just going to become who his dad was, and it actually makes it more complex than it ever usually is. Yeah. Usually with these things, it's like, oh no, they become their father, or they become their mother, or, they become their parents. Whereas this is saying, no, he's still him. He's still going to do it his way, in his own unique way.
But he's going to do what his father would have done.
Yeah, or at least what his father was trying to do, at the very least. And I think that's all this adds up for this beautiful moment of him crying and like kind of realizing this to an extent. And obviously throughout the episode, he's constantly referring to it as that moment when it's like, "Are you sure you want to delete this on a computer?" It's like, "Are you sure?" That whole episode, this entire episode is that dialogue box. It's that box saying, "Are you sure you want to delete this?" And he's mulling it over, and maybe even click yes, but you can still go to the recycling bin and restore it. You can still do that.
Yeah, you can. And he mentions that as well at one point. It's like, even if you delete it, you can restore it in some ways.
Yeah, not everything is deleted permanently, I think is the phrase he specifically uses later on. But no, fantastic moment. And just the idea that the kid comes back and gives him the lollipop and says, "Oh, because you said you were sick." He cares. Someone cares about him who doesn't need to care about him. He reached out and someone reached back. And it's kind of like he would never have reached out, because Darlene was was trying to reach out to him, but he was not willing to receive that. But because this kid was part of the guilt with Trenton, he had to accept it, and by forcing him to accept it, he was then able to receive the hope and the good and the joy and everything that comes with it, and it kind of like forced him into actually kind of rebooting almost, if you will.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way of putting it.
Also, a small touch just to sort of add that again back into him and his dad. His dad was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just obviously.
Exactly.
I mean, Elliot is sick, just not more
in the
mental,
same physical way.
Yeah. But and just the idea that he didn't do that for his dad, where he gave him the just symbolically that he never gave a lollipop back to his dad. He was cold. So. But yeah, so he's walking back. He actually goes back to Mobley's brother. And this is how we know that he's Elliot again, that he's got his mojo back, because he's like season 1 Elliot, where he's like, "No, I hacked you. You're going to give your brother a good funeral. You're going to write a good eulogy, or some of those people, those dodgy clients you've got in your accounting business, like the FBI is going to hear about this, and here's a bag of morphine that'll pay for it."
Yeah, because it was he obviously when he was with the drug dealer, he was like, "All right, how did you how do we know each other?" You go, referral through a friend.
Yeah.
And he actually says here that he got it from one of the emails. He was one of the clients with Mobley's brother. And
which was
like,
actually
sell it back to him.
Which was actually nicely teased, because the drug dealer said, "Oh, how did we meet again? How do you know me?" Like it was actually kind of teased, like how did he actually know him, and actually paid off by the end of the episode. I loved it at the end as he's walking away. He says, "I'll be listening to the eulogy from the back," and he puts his hood up. It's like that, which I don't know if it's the first time he puts his hood up in the episode, but it might be.
Yeah, I don't. He might have had it up, but we definitely didn't see him pull it up. I don't
Yeah.
think he might have just had it up at some point.
It felt like that superhero moment where he's putting his cape back on, almost.
It did. It did. Not the only moment with the hood I'm going to touch on. We've got that coming up.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, so yeah. In fact, actually, I just noted as well when he said I'll be in the back listening. I actually just put after that like always because that's what he does. He listens from afar. He hacks people. He looks into things. The idea that he's back, like he is going to be paying attention again.
Yeah, and again, this is very much the very first thing we ever saw Elliot do was one of these
Yeah.
moments, and it's like, no, no, this is the Elliot we know. He's back, like you said.
Yeah. Some really good synth music was playing during this, and it transitions into the next sort of where he's walking to next, which turns out to be Angela's place, which may be a different place than before. It seemed like a different building to me, just from the lighting, but maybe that's just a
I
trick
don't
of the
know. I
light.
think maybe it's just the red lights.
Yeah, red light in the hall. Hers is sort of well, it's not
Dark.
dark light, but it's white light, but it's just a really dark hallway. It's all black. Yeah, it almost feels like she's backstage, like a a theater or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah, I
all
know what you
black
mean.
kind of look to me, like you're backstage somewhere. But anyway, first of all, I want to first of all, despite everything we've had for the rest of the episode, this scene beats it all.
It does. It does.
So that's first of all. Secondly, I want to say part of the reason why it beats it all. Now, I'm not sure. I actually asked Sam Esmail on Twitter. He didn't get back to me. I'm a little bit hurt. I'm not gonna lie, but I think this is a giant homage to the ending of a fantastic film that I love called Paris, Texas. I won't say any more. I don't want to spoil that movie, but let's just say there's a very similar scene that plays out, at least in terms of style, in that
Okay.
movie.
I haven't seen it. I know you rave about it all the time.
I'll do it. It's a 10. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, you said it's been on my list to get to for a long time because you kept going on about it, and I was like, fine, I'll put it on the list.
I think that'll be going onto that influx list, to do list
I'm
at some
sure it
point.
will. I'm sure it will.
So I can talk about it.
Before we even get to what's actually in the scene, just a touch on the idea that all this room's in red. We spoke a lot about that in Twin Peaks about how red was such a leading color. It was
I think,
a color of truth.
yeah, I think, yeah, truth. It also obviously stands for danger a lot of the time, and I think it's really interesting that Elliot's in the red, even though we've just seen him.
It is. But I think in this specific moment,
Yeah.
it's the truth because this scene here is about being honest, and also early on, you mentioned the woman's shoes were what it was his realization of the mosque. They
Were
were
they
also red.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
there you go. That's also very Twin Peaks.
it was.
Red shoes.
This is why I picked up on it at the time.
So some of that leftover Twin Peaks detective skills coming.
I
into play.
just see red, and I'm just focusing in on it now. I can't help it.
So yeah, so just actually that's the thing. We actually get this shot where obviously we see both sides of the door at the same time, and we see the different colours. Red on one side, white on the other. And Angela's not talking. She's silent. She, like we said, she was broken last week. She's still broken, but she's obviously evolved to a different stage of being broken, where she is just like a cat, almost not catatonic, but like just almost like Elliot, where he's just a blank stare and just emotional and
Just lost in the grief.
yeah. And I did notice as well. She had about 10 locks on her door. She's clearly bulked up her security.
Paranoid. Yeah.
Yeah. And Elliot knocks. He like says, "Hey Angela, I need to talk to you." Whatever. And he walks away, but then he stops, and he makes the choice not to give up. That he's going to go back and talk to her anyway. I mean, whether he knows or not, at least hoping that she's there.
Yeah.
Can he sense it? Maybe he can, but like he's going to go back and talk to her. And he slides down the door and starts talking about something from their childhood, which is where the song starts to kick in. Robbie Robb, I believe the artist is. It's called In Time. I know this because I liked it enough that I went and listened to it a few times since watching this episode.
It's a pretty good song.
Funnily
Enjoyed it.
enough, this was also a song from a movie. Not Back to the Future, because I'd know if it was Back to the Future.
Yep.
But another time travel movie.
Oh.
Yeah, Bill and Ted's. One of
okay.
those. I don't know which one it was, but
Yeah,
one of those two. Which is also about going to the past to save the future, or something to that effect. I've never seen Bill and Ted. I know, weird. I've not seen a movie like that. But
I know what it is, just never watched it.
yeah, it's normal for you to not seen like a popular movie.
Shut up.
So
I've seen Back to the Future. Will you shut up?
you saw it when you were in your 20s.
Yeah, I didn't watch the second one either.
So when this came up in the episode, you hadn't even seen that scene before.
No, I watched the first one. I was like, that's pretty good. Felt no need to go and watch. I bought the box set, when I was gonna watch them, so they sat there on the shelf behind me, and then I just was like, no, that's pretty good. Didn't feel any need to go and watch the second one immediately. That was a couple of years ago.
You are the absolute worst. Oh, it's one of the best trilogies.
Okay.
So he's sitting down, and she does this kind of same thing where she slides down the door, and she's also got her back to the door, sitting down eventually. So they're back to back on all sides of the door, and throughout the entire scene, before I even say what he's actually saying, just again great acting on her part here as well, where she's just slowly getting more emotional throughout the scene. Very very strong stuff. I was really kind of again feeling it, and I was feeling that he was kind of making a bit of a breakthrough as he was talking a little bit, because she does eventually say something. But he talks about this wishing game they used to have, where when they were kids, they'd wish for things, and he's like, oh, I'd wish for a better computer, faster internet, she'd wish for better clothes, they'd wish for bigger rooms, they wish they could drive, go on road trips, do all this kind of thing. And he said how, okay, it never come true, but one of the things we used to try to make them come true is we'd close our eyes, and we'd do it, we thought the longer and the harder we shut our eyes, the more likely the wish would come true. And all I could think was, well, that was basically what she was kind of doing, just in a larger sense. Like, she was wishing for this thing to happen where she'd get her parents back through, whether she was promised time travel or whatever. Like, she was wishing for this thing, and she was so determined for it that she ignored every single warning that she was about to be, like,
Yeah, again,
a part of killing someone.
Because she had her eyes shut.
Yeah, she had her eyes shut. She did not see all these people dying coming because she was kind of letting herself be ignorant to it, but again, metaphorically, shutting her eyes. And she shut them for a long time because she wanted to believe it was going to happen. And he's like, hey, like, but I realised later on that it didn't really matter that it never came true. It was all about the wishing. That was the best part. I never understood that back then, but I do now. And at this point she's getting proper blubbery on the other side. She's like crying, tears.
She's kind of got to get an idea of where this is going as well, because what comes up is something that she would know. Of course, she knows the story.
And do you know what you used to say to me when our eyes were shut? What you'd say when we had our eyes shut, like every time to reassure me. And that's when she actually says it. And I'm actually really glad this was in the previously on, because she said this to herself last week.
Yeah.
She said it when she was rewinding the footage, where she basically says, no matter what happens, everything will be okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, like, I mean, that moment last week was great on its own anyway. It worked.
Yeah, when she was
thing.
saying it to Darlene, it was like, oh man.
But now it's got all this extra, like, back, because it means so. This is like something she used to as a kid, and it's just this idea that, I mean, maybe she's got it in a different way, but again, just like Elliot, she's still trapped in her sort of her kid's body or her head.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
She's still
that
in
childhood, that moment of, who she was then is still clearly impacting who she is now. It's the past affecting the future.
Yeah. So no, like the idea that that's how she was manipulated with the girl who looked like her / maybe was her from the past, just to go with crazy theories. Yeah. But the idea that's how she was manipulated, it was like, hey, remember you used to wish for things. And she actually was tricked by hoping. She was tricked into this by hoping for things. And that's what Elliot's just got back. So he's trying to convince, he's here like, hey, everything will be okay. Yeah. He's found hope, so he wants to do it for her. And obviously this is a big turn from the start of the episode when he was like, I don't care how she feels. He's here to try and help. It's like he understands finally that she's basically going through the exact same thing he goes through.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how, this is Elliot being the most honest he's ever been, I think. Ooh. And it really shows in the HUD. You mentioned how at the end of the previous scene he puts it up and it's like, okay, he's back, he's Elliot.
And that's almost why I keep saying he's going to assemble the hacking Avengers. I almost feel like next episode's when he's going to start that journey.
Right. But here's the great thing here is, when he comes up to the door, he knocks on it, he tries to talk to it, he's still got the HUD up, he walks away, he comes back, he slumps down on the door, and before he starts talking about the wish, that's when he takes his HUD down. It's like, no, this is the real me talking now. Yeah,
because he's not the hacker who's tricking someone, he's not the hacker who's confronting them with harsh truth. He's, no, this is just me and you. This was before I ever like had the hood
And I like
up.
the idea that they're both on the floor because they're, literally they're shorter. They're like when they were kids.
Yeah, there you go. And again, they're both equals. They're identical in either side because they've both went through essentially the same thing. Again,
Yeah.
their psyches both handled it in very different ways, but they're both broken by the same thing, and they're both kind of still broken by it now.
Yeah.
Phenomenal character work,
It really is.
and it's a phenomenal scene. It's just the idea that he is better. He found some hope, and he's trying to pass it on to her. And I'm almost like excited by how terrifying Angela might be if she finds her strength and wants revenge. Like,
Yeah. See, I can't wait for that. But what I also want to do is I want to see her guilt at not what she's done in general, but her guilt at specifically manipulating Elliot.
oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, we're seeing now the effects of her guilt of the bombings in general. That's been some very powerful stuff clearly because it's led to moments like this. But I want to see how she talks to Elliot about this confrontation almost of what we did, what she did, and used him.
yeah. I can almost see it just been one scene. Like, maybe it won't come up for a while
Yeah.
because I'll be so focused on whatever's going on. I can see like him mentioning Mr. Robot for some reason or something, and she's like, and that like triggers her to like, oh, I need to bring this up. I need to.
Yeah, she needs to apologize, get it off her conscience.
Or it could be long and drawn out for all I know. I mean, who's to guess at this point? But I can almost see it being that one great moment of like, hey, I kind of like, yeah, that was bad. I messed up. Can you forgive me? And maybe that's when Elliot will finally say, yes, I can forgive you.
Yeah, that would be a nice
Yeah.
touch.
I don't know, just to compare it to his dad. But no, fantastic scene. There's the songs playing this happy, upbeat song about, and the lyrics of the song are literally in time, everything will be all right. In time, we'll be dancing in the street all night. That's the chorus of the song. So very hopeful. He's walking back home. This van pulls up and throws like trash out in front. I actually thought it was going to be Dark Army coming out and capturing them. I was expecting that really.
Yeah, the way when the van it stops right in front of him and opens the door. I'm almost half expecting like someone with guns just sitting there at that shot.
It was funny because obviously they throw this trash out onto the sidewalk, and I almost thought, okay, right, so they're just dumping stuff. But then of course his jacket's there, so I'm like, okay, were they intentionally putting that back where he is, or is this just fate that they dumped this because it was no good and it just happened to be in front of Elliot's house?
Yeah, see, I'm inclined to believe the former because why stop that? If you want to just dump stuff, you do it where there's no one else around. Like we see the street, it's empty. They stop where he is.
I guess the question is why specifically want to go back to him?
That is a good question. Who are these people that go, no, he needs that. We're giving it back to him.
Yeah.
How do they know who he is?
If they even do know who he is, maybe it's just a case of
again.
we're giving it back to him because he gave us it and we want rid of it. I don't know.
Right, but how do they know where to find him to give it back to him? Because he went up to them.
Well, which is why I think fate's maybe
No, that's fair.
maybe the thing. It's just all just happenstance that it comes back to him. Like, because that's the one thing that maybe was potentially irreversible for what he did this episode was that he got rid of that jacket.
Yeah, he put it there to be burned.
Yeah, but it somehow showed back up, and he goes back in. He puts up his new mirror because we actually saw he had it earlier on. We saw it in the box, and he actually puts it up. He replaces his mirror with a nice new one, all fixed, and
Psyche is better.
and Psyche's better. But then just to show that he is rebuilding himself, that he is back, he is who he is. And I never thought we'd get such a dramatic, like emotionally fulfilling scene in a TV show where someone is building a computer. But sure enough, for Elliot, that means something. He's put, the RAM's going in, RAM sticks are out, hard drive, motherboard. He's like taking it all out.
This is the no. I'm back. I'm doing it. Like you said, the start of the episode was let's get rid of this computer, and usually we just see him get another one out straight away when that happens.
Also,
he's prepared.
I love that he has supply, like just motherboards and RAM sticks and hard drives, just in his cupboard, his closet, just full of them.
Because when Darlene asks him why did you do that, he just says, "Oh, it's routine," and to a point. It is because we know he does this whenever he has to, and that's why he has this supply. So it was one of those believable lies.
Yeah, we knew he was lying, but it was passable. He puts everything back together. The song's still playing; it's really upbeat, and he sets up his secure email. He's like, "All right, okay, put it to the secure thing," and it comes up, and he's got an email. And I went, "Oh, wait a minute." And you just see it says Trenton with the the numbers instead of the vowels.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit!
I love the subject line.
Please don't delete.
Yeah.
or don't delete me, whatever the phrase was.
I think it was don't delete me, and it
Yeah,
was just like, oh, after all this, he tried
yeah,
all episode to delete, and and we also we forgot to mention in this montage, of him building the computer, we see he's got the dog back.
yeah. He's got the dog back. Yeah,
He's got him picked up the dog. It's like, no, he's really committed to this now.
and he sees this email, and just this idea of like, she has been deleted, but something of her still lives on. Before we even get to what's in the email, just the idea that don't delete me, don't delete my memory, because I can still mean something. I can still be
Yeah.
my legacy can still mean something. And then he opens it, and the first line is, "I think I found a way to undo the hack."
Yeah, I didn't. I'm sure someone on Reddit got a
I
screenshot. A lot of it seemed really blurred because obviously it focused in on the first line.
No, I saw the screenshot of the full thing. It was a lot of details about how Mobley set up back channel things and back directs.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get it up and look at it, but I feel honestly,
I'll go read it at some point. I feel like I want to read it just because I want
Yeah.
to see what it was. But
I glanced at the full thing. I read through it. It was mostly just sort of computer jargon that I don't have much to add about it, but it was like, no, here's something that we, and Mobley was involved as well, just to bring that up from the full screenshot. Mobley was involved in whatever this thing was. Maybe he didn't realise that he was, like, building a way to reverse it, necessarily, but maybe it even said that in the email, I can't remember. But, it was something Mobley did that she's using to say, hey, maybe, like, we can restore everything. And if I'm going to be cynical here just for a little bit, I'm not sure exactly what that accomplishes at this point.
no, I mean, I guess it's this idea of a backup, isn't it? This fail-safe plan of like, okay, no, there's always something we can do. Even when you delete something, there's always a way back. I mean, to go back to the start of this episode, where he destroys the computer, before he does that, he still backs up their folders onto the disk.
No, but what I mean is, what good does bringing all the data from eCart back now? Now that they've got eCoin, now that they've transitioned anyway, now that Philip's already out.
I wonder if when she's talking about, we can undo the hack, she doesn't mean literally just put the data back. She means we can undo the effects of the hack.
Okay, I'm not entirely sure what that achieves exactly right now in this world. Like, does it point out some of the other wrongdoings, perhaps? Because people can then look at things and say, hey, wait a minute, or whatever. I don't know. But
we'll have to wait and see on that one.
I mean, I imagine at the very least it'll piss off White Rose. I have to imagine that much at the very least.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how last week when she mentioned, she'll send the email out to someone she trusts, we kind of discounted Elliot because we were like, he already knows about all their involvement and everything. But now we see, no, there's more. It's not just about their involvement in the truth. It was about a way to fix things.
Yeah, which I mean, arguably, like, if he gives that to Dom, like, is that like just confirming to her that this was bullshit? This story where she was meant to be a terrorist is just bullshit.
And this is one of the few reasons I can see Elliot actually going to the FBI to clear their name, going, because usually he'd be like, we know he sends stuff in anonymously anyway, because he's mentioned it in the past that he's willing to do that, or I can't remember if he actually has, but I feel like he might have done. He's definitely tipped them off of things before anyway.
Yeah.
And the idea of here, he might go through Darlene to Dom. It's like, no, this is one that, we've at least had some contact with. It's not just the general FBI that we can't trust. And it's like, no, I don't want to do this to, fix things necessarily. I just want to make sure it clears their name. This is enough to clear their name. Yeah,
that could be the ultimate goal, which would ruin the plan, the cover-up, and then all of a sudden, investigation back open.
Yeah.
Like, where do we go from there? I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose you could also argue that so many, like, savings and stuff were apparently lost in the 5.9 hack that maybe putting all that data back puts almost everything back into chaos, because now all of a sudden you've got all this new data with all the old data.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if that's the thing that would restore. A lot of it would. Okay, so they'd have all their money back. They'd have their property deeds. We wouldn't really need eCoin to come in and be this new secure thing and replace everything, because we have everything how it should be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I suppose actually, because it's the same year, right? Like 5.9 was this year. It was 2015.
Yeah. Yes. This is about what, 4 months? No.
5 months.
I know.
May, October, 5th month, 10th month.
I know. I'm bad at months, and this beeping is getting on my nerves.
Yeah. Actually, kind. Well, actually, no, they said Tyrell was gone for 6 months though, didn't they? Or was it 5 months? Maybe it was 5 months. Maybe I'm putting six in my head.
I don't know.
But hey, whatever. Is this the?
Give or take
Yeah,
6 months.
let's not dwell
Yeah.
on that. But no, fantastic episode. Obviously, we cut to like because the very last line of the episode is he sees this email, he sees that thing, and Elliot's final line is, "Well, maybe there's still more stuff. There's still something else for me to do. There's still reason for me to be around." It's just this final thing, and then the happy song kind of plays out through the credits, which is easily the most uplifting and upbeat moment we've had
Yeah.
all season.
It's kind of strange.
Yeah, I'm not used to this.
No, I'm used to ending on the gut punch and just going away going, oh, I'm sad now.
I guess if I was to maybe predict the sort of the show right now in terms of what the direction change is that this is the point where Elliot stops being on the defense and starts being on the offense.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. It's like he's going after them. He's got information.
Yeah.
He's
I mean,
like he's trying now.
I mean, maybe he's not quite at the point where he wants to hunt White Rose or like destroy the Dark Army, but at the very least now it's about trying to do something, as opposed to just trying to stop what they'd already planned.
Yeah, because I'd say up to this point he's been so he was on the offense in season 1 in the sense that he was the underdog taking on the big corporation.
Yeah.
And then season 2 now, this idea of okay, there was this hack and I'm fighting back. I'm stopping this.
And you were a puppet in this greater evil's plan the entire time. Yeah.
And now here it's like taking control of his own life and going, no, I can do something. I can do something good again rather than just try and prevent things.
And there you go. That's episode 8 of season 3. So hopefully everyone enjoys that conversation. You had to wait a little bit extra to get to it. That should not be a problem. Next week we should be back to our usual sort of Thursday night sometime slot that we typically hit. So no, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there. There'll be a link to that in the corner of the video. There'll be a link to that in the description. And that is us. So, so honestly, like, when we get to the end of the year, I mean, hell, in a few weeks' time, when we're doing our best shows of the year video, like, the fight between this and Twin Peaks is going to be like
that's going to be tough. And the real what also is going to be tough is the episode, because obviously we limit it to one per show.
Yeah, we have to pick which one. Kind of like how what we said earlier for the Emmys, where the actor has to pick an episode to submit. We pick just one episode from a show to be that.
We try and be
episode.
fair so that it's not all one show.
Yeah. So that it's not just the same 2 or 3 shows in the entire top 10 for best episode. It's just 10 different episodes from different shows.
Did we do 10?
Yeah, we did 10 last year.
Oh, okay, I thought we did 5, but it was a year ago. What do I know?
I think we did 10. Oh, no, we did do 10. We did do 10. It was a whole video on its own. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I remember now.
So yeah, we're getting close to that time of year. We'll be doing that soon.
It is. We need to be thinking about that
over the Christmassy time. Just a quick side note as well before we go. One of the effects that happened because of our unexpected extra delay and less time to record is there was no news this week. I mean, I mentioned it at the start, but I'm just going to thing it now.
Reiterate.
Thank you. I told you it was late. All the news that was going to be on this week is just rolling into next week, so it's not going to be a news video for this week. It's just going to be a big episode next week. If you look forward to those episodes. But anyway, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?